Hi everybody, I'm back. This is Bree Lynn Van Leeuwen from Here's to Healthy Women. You can call me Bree. I am a PA. I've been a PA now for 3 years. I went to Western University in Pomona, California. That's the PA program that I attended. Before that, I went to the University of Utah for undergrad, majored in English and all of the pre-med prerequisites, of course. And you can learn more about me in my other videos, but this video specifically is about tips I have for the summers before you start PA school and tips I have during PA school. There are a lot of things I could mention. I wanted to just narrow it down to what I thought was most important. So before you start PA school, that's where I want to start off. One of the most challenging parts of the PANCE, which is the test that you take when you're done with PA school to become a licensed PA. You have to pass this exam in order to have your license to practice medicine as a PA. It's called the PANCE, P-A-N-C-E. And in order to pass the PANCE, you have to do quite well in your classes because one of my teachers explained PA school like drinking through a fire hose, and that's exactly what it's like. It's like you're trying to take in all this water, but they're shooting a fire hose at you, and it's hard to even get a drop in because there's so much going on. So it's important that you start with a little bit of background before you get into PA school, which is why they make the prerequisite classes so difficult and similar to medical school. And it's important that you do well in those because you have to have that background in order to do well in your PA classes. Now, with the PANCE, going back to the PANCE, 16% of the PANCE, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's the highest category in the PANCE, is cardiovascular, 16%. The only one that's even close to as big as the pulmonary system, which is at 12%. So 16% of your exam will be cardiovascular questions. Because of that, when you're in PA school, you're learning cardio, and when that section comes up, you'll be learning cardio, but like drinking through a fire hose, you're trying to learn a lot of other classes at the same time, so there's not 100% of your time that can be focused on cardio. My advice, and what I wish someone would have told me, and what I would have thought that would have been very helpful for me through PA school, is that the summer before I started PA school, I would have learned anything I could about the cardiovascular system, and specifically EKGs. EKGs are a killer, and they take a lot of time to learn. Not everyone's great at teaching it. EKGs are very difficult, and they're a big part of your test. They're a big part of PA school, so you need to know those. EKGs, that's one. There's a book that we used in PA school that I found to be the most helpful, and I think it's pretty universally used. At least it was when I was there, 4 years ago. This is the book. It's called Rapid Interpretations of EKGs. I don't know if that's going to be backwards. If you follow along on my channel, you know that technology is not my strong suit. So I'll put this in the text down below, a link where you can find it, but it's called Rapid Interpretation of EKGs. It's by, Dale Dubin. Hopefully I'm saying his name right. It's a great book. It'll help you work through the basic knowledge you need of EKGs. The next part that I found helpful, there's this book that will pop up that's all about cardiac auscultation, so all of the heart murmurs that you'll need to learn. Let's see if I can that's a miniature picture, but I'll put the link for this one down below as well. This is what it looks like. It's Heart Sounds and Murmur, a Practical Guide. Oh, it's just such a small picture, but that's what it looks like. Hopefully you can see that. I'll put it down below. But it's called Heart Murmurs. Hopefully you can see this. I don't know if you can. Anyway, there it is. I'll put the link down below so that you guys can go ahead and find this as well. This is a cheap one. I think this one is $2 or something like that. I mean, it's very cheap. And it also has an audio component, so you'll need to get very familiar with what aortic regurgitation sounds like, aortic stenosis, mitral valve regurgitation. I mean, there's all these different kinds of heart murmurs that you're going to have to be able to identify in a sound and also through text. So they'll say, crescendo, decrescendo. There's all these terms that you're going to have to be able to connect with one particular type of heart murmur. So my biggest tip for before starting PA school would be learn your cardio as best you possibly can, specifically heart murmurs and EKGs. I think that will give you a good start for PA school and something I wish I would have done. You can also take an ACLS class before you start PA school. ACLS is an advanced training beyond just basic life support. It's advanced training. Some PA schools, you'll get your ACLS while doing it. It wasn't required for mine. It was optional, but who had time? I guess there were a handful of people in my program who ended up doing it, but there wasn't time to do ACLS and focus on your normal material if you were hoping to get A's or good grades. So I wish I would have gotten my ACLS before, and I wish I would have done murmurs and EKG interpretation before I started PA school. That's my biggest tip for you. My second biggest tip is that you make sure that when you're budgeting for PA school that you leave yourself a budget for all of your instruments that you'll need, all the medical supplies that they'll require you to have. I can only speak to my program, but we were required to have an ophthalmoscope and an otoscope, which are not cheap. They're not cheap instruments. I want to say they run around $300, but that's going from my memory from that long ago, and I'm not 100% sure, but they're not cheap. You'll want to buy that, and you want to buy a good one, because even now as a mom, I use it all the time, and my friends will call me and their little kids' ears hurt, and it's so nice to be able to have a reliable instrument that I can have in my home and check my children and also my friends' children's ears. It's a nice thing to always have anyway, so you'll want to get a good one. And the other thing I would not skimp on is a good stethoscope. Of course, I have a Littman. Let's see if I have it. Yeah, I do. Mine's I think I got the Cardio 3. Yeah, I got the Cardio 3 Littman. This is what mine looks like. It's a big investment. I think they're a couple $100, but I wouldn't skimp on this. You want a great stethoscope. I've had this since PA school. I love it. It's always going to be with me. It's something that you won't regret purchasing. So a good stethoscope and a good ophthalmoscope and otoscope combination are going to be of value to you. So one of the things that is most difficult is that people around you won't understand how rigorous PA school is. They won't get it, especially because not everyone even knows what a PA is, so they think that you're studying to be a medical assistant, and they don't understand how busy you are. They just don't get it. What I would suggest to you is that you warn your family and friends that you will be pretty much absent for a couple of years. The second year for me during the rotation year wasn't as bad, but my didactic year, I was gone all day. From early morning until super late at night, I was gone studying. I wouldn't have had time to attend birthday parties and family dinners and whatever other events are socially happening. You need to warn your family and friends that it's nothing personal, but this is going to be a very selfish time in your life. And that's just what it is. You have to make that investment in yourself because you're spending a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of everything to be there. So you need to make it worth your while, but you don't want to have that extra pressure from your family and friends telling you, why aren't you ever around? You don't need that. So you need to give them a heads up that, look, my life is going to be significantly different for the next couple of years, and that's just all there is to it. Now, during PA school specifically, what is my advice during PA school? I would say everyone will tell you pieces of different advice that were helpful to them. So, of course, this is just my channel, so it'll be my advice of things that were helpful for me. And in my experience, it was a pretty amazing time to be able to just focus on school. I don't know how many other times in your life you get to do that. I mean, for me, never again. I didn't have to work. I didn't have to do anything. You actually can't work. They don't allow you to work, but it was actually a gift and a blessing to be able to 100% of your time is focused on education and school. So give it everything you have. Don't do it halfway. If you're going to do PA school, do it 100%. That would be my biggest advice to you, is that go into it knowing exactly what it's going to be, and then do it. Give it 100% of your time, and you'll never regret it. I never regret that I gave it 100% of myself. So first and foremost, when I say give it 100%, I mean you have to be there. You have to attend lecture. Every single lecture you need to be at. They're not optional. They're important. Even the ones where you think the teachers aren't very good teachers, you need to be there. Because A, you are soaking up information. B, you're getting information that isn't found in the text. And maybe C, they'll throw out a quiz, and then it's also showing your professors that you're making an effort to be there. And don't be the lazy one sitting on the back row and on your phone and not paying attention and checking your email. Don't do that to yourself. You guys are going to spend a lot of money to be there, so give it 100%. Focus, pay attention, turn your phone off, listen to the lecture. Give them that kind of respect, because they prepared lectures for you. Give them the respect that they deserve and be there. Attend lecture. It's not optional. You need to attend. You need to be there. It would be really helpful for a lot of you, and some people study better independently, but for me it was really important that I had people that I could study with. The people that I initially started studying with at the beginning of PA school didn't turn out to be a great fit for me, and I had to find a new group, a few months into PA school, which is a little bit tricky and difficult, but you need to find people that you work well with, people who study the same as you, people who have the same work ethic as you, and people who are willing to put in the same amount of time as you. Study groups are helpful because you can each contribute to a study guide, so you can take different sections of the objectives that they give you during lecture, and you guys can create study guides and then share, so that you only do a third of the work, but you get 100% of the study material. That was really helpful for me. And then to have someone that you can quiz with, to go back and forth and say, okay, quiz me on this material, because as a general rule, people, including myself and everybody, study what they know. It's fun to study the questions that you know the answer to. It's fun to study the material that you know, because it gives you this instant boost of confidence, like, oh, I know that. And that's a really fun thing to do, but it doesn't benefit you for your test. It's okay to not know things when you're studying. That's the point, is to learn. And it's okay for your friend to ask you a question and for you not to know the answer. That's the point of it. You're supposed to be failing while you're studying so that you can succeed during a test. That's the entire point. So find people who are giving you good questions, who can quiz you in an appropriate way, who challenge you a little bit. That's really important. Okay, so for me, my general pattern of study during PA school was prior to that upcoming class, and of course I didn't do this for every single class, like, my research class, or I can't even think, but any class that wasn't, like a science core, I didn't necessarily do this, but my core science classes, so adult medicine, OBGYN, pediatrics, geriatrics, etc., all of those important core science medical-based classes, what I would always try to do, and I got in the pattern of doing this, is I would read the suggested reading before class. So if we were reading, we were going to go over, chapters 1 through 3, whatever. I would try and read those chapters before lecture. Then I would sit in lecture and listen to the PowerPoint with the professor, and then immediately after class, or sometime within that day, I would go through the PowerPoint that I heard in lecture, and then I would make myself my own study sheet from that day or that study material. And what I would write down on my study sheet was not what I already knew. I would force myself to write down things that I didn't know, things that were new to me, things that I was going to have a hard time remembering. And then when I would study for an exam, I actually just studied from the sheet that I'd create. That seemed to be the most helpful for me, because there was a lot of, you don't have time to, before an exam, because sometimes you have 6 or 7 tests a week. You don't have time to go through all the material over again. It's the fire hose. There just isn't time. So you have to be on top of it and not get behind. And for me, that worked out best. So I would read the text before, I would go to class and listen to the lecture, and then hopefully right after that, or sometime during that day, I would review the power slide, and then on my own little sheet of paper, my own book, I would write down all of the things that I felt like were important, and that's what I used to study for my exams. That's what worked best for me. I also found highlighters to be incredibly important. They ignite a different part of your brain. Color ignites a different part of your brain. So sometimes I would highlight certain things in different colors, and that would help me remember, okay, let's see, the color was blue, okay, that has to do with, this particular thing, and then it would help me remember. So colors were a very helpful part for me too. Creating your own notes helps the brain to develop new synapses so that you remember it better. If you're reading someone else's words, you're not going to remember it as well as if you're writing it in your own word and then rereading your own word. It does something different for the brain. So that would be my best advice for studying tips. And again, everyone has things that work different for them. That's just what I found to be effective for me. You want to be sure that you don't have gaps in your knowledge. This isn't a period of time where you want to have gaps in your knowledge, meaning, you know, that you only get through a part of the material. There's that funny cartoon that they said the test was going to be on pages 1 through 100, so I read 1 through 99, and then I fell asleep, and the only question on the test was, you know, about page 100, right? So that's the joke of PA school. You never know what's going to be on the exam, so you don't want to risk it. You don't want to have any gaps in your knowledge. It isn't worth it. And in order to help you do that, you have to stay on top of the material. You can't take time off. You can't be lazy. You can't go home and Netflix binge. I mean, that's not the time. It's not the time in your life to do that. So the only other piece of advice I have for you, and I've said this in other videos, I'm going to say it again here, you have to live frugally during PA school. I just paid off my PA school loan. So I took out $130,000 worth of loans. I'll do a different video, I guess, on tips on how to pay back PA school loans. That's a different tip. I'm in a unique situation where my husband was able to help me a great deal with my loans. So, but not everyone's going to have that. And the truth is, the loans are so real. And even though there's this rumor that there's ways to pay your loans off through, you know, working in rural communities or whatever they say that you can do, those opportunities are few and far between, and they don't work for everybody. So you need to take out the least amount of loans you can. The very, very, very least. Live frugally. This is not the time to live in a really super nice place. I lived in a really great apartment that I was never in, ever. I rented this expensive, 2-bedroom apartment in Rancho Cucamonga, California that was gated and so nice and beautiful. And I was never there. I was never in my apartment. And it was just such a waste of money. I can't explain to you how much I wish I wouldn't have done that, but I did. So learn from my mistake. Don't do that. You obviously want to live in a comfortable place that's safe and clean, but there is no need for you to be in a nice place. There is no need for you to have all of the most expensive, cars and food, and it just isn't the time. You can enjoy those things after, most definitely, 100%. But during PA school, you're never going to be home, so it doesn't actually really matter. Take out the least amount of loan money you can. Live as frugally as possible. Don't go shopping. Which I didn't do that. But don't take this money and go spend it on a new car. There was actually a kid in my program who had his loan money, and he went out and bought this really nice car with his loan money, and now he's just paying an interest rate of 7.5% or whatever on this car. It was just stupid. But it's a false sense of security when you get a check for 30 grand and then 40 grand, and it's just a false sense of security. But don't let that happen to you. I guess that's my final tip. As always, you're welcome to email me. It's always so nice to hear from you guys. Thank you for being interested and appreciating my videos. Hopefully they're helpful. So you can always email me if you have any questions or concerns. I wish you all the best in PA school. It's such an exciting, wonderful, fun time. As much as you'll want to be out of it, you'll also really appreciate that you were there and enjoy every second of it. I mean, it's such a unique time in your life where you can just focus on education and school. So I actually long for that sometimes, which is weird because all I want to do is get out and practice medicine. But there are times where I'm like, man, I wish I could just, for the next 8 hours, just go study and just learn. So you'll long for that, believe it or not. Enjoy it and give it 100%. Give it everything you have. Wish you all the best. Bye.